Hello and welcome to our special coverage of China's space mission on CGTN. I'm Li Jianhua in Beijing. After over 6 hours of flight, the Shenzhou-15 spaceship successfully docked with China's Tiangong space station at 5:42 a.m. Beijing time. The taikonauts that have just arrived at the space station will soon be meeting with their fellow colleagues aboard the Shenzhou-14, and the crews will make their first ever in-orbit rotation in the history of China's space exploration. And of course, we will be witnessing their historic meeting. And in the studio, we have Professor Yang Yuguang with China Aerospace Science and Industry Corporation, and on Skype we have Zhang Fan, Associate Professor of Astronomy with Beijing Normal University. Welcome to both of you. So let's begin our discussion. So Professor Yang, let's start with you. And we know that the Shenzhou-14 and Shenzhou-15 crews will be soon meeting in orbit. So what preparation work needs to be done and how long will it take?
As you have already mentioned, that the two spacecraft has docked together. Just between the front hatch of our orbital module of the Shenzhou-15 spaceship and just in front of the front hatch of the node of the Tianhe-1 core module, we formed a transfer channel, a crew transfer channel. The inner diameter of this crew transportation channel is about 0.85 meters. But that just before the docking, it is in vacuum condition. And after docking, we need to pour air into this channel. And when the pressure is balanced, only at this moment we can open the hatch. So this depends on how long the pouring this air into this channel will take. And also it depends on the other check-ins. That there are many status confirmation and checking before the opening the hatch.
So Professor Zhang, what will the crew rotation work handover look like, and what is your expectation? And I've heard that the Shenzhou-15 crew, they have brought some presents for Shenzhou-14 crew.
Right. So they brought fruits apparently. So after the Shenzhou-14 crew depleted their apple supply, they've been craving for some fruits. That's apparently what's happening. And then the Shenzhou-14 crew would also be giving them some presents of their own, which is currently a secret, something personal they brought up there probably. And as for the rotation, I expect to go fairly smoothly because they're not really roughing it up there. The whole station really has two sets of crew quarters. Each can host 3 astronauts. And they have separate restrooms and they have separate kitchens, so it will be quite comfortable up there. It's very different from other space stations in the past where they really only prepare for the people that stay there permanently. So whoever is rotating in will have to rough it for a few days.
Yeah, Professor Zhang, sorry, I have to cut you off there. And we are looking at the live footage from space over there, and we have just learned that the Shenzhou-15 spacecraft is now opening its node cabin at this point. So Professor Yang, let's come back to the studio. So what are they doing right now? So the door is open at this point,
They give each other a hug.
Oh, they have met, and that is a big hug.
Yes.
Yeah, so is it like your expectation? Was it like that before?
Yes. That just several minutes before, Mr. Chen Dong opened the front hatch of the node.
The node cabin.
And yes, and Mr. Fei Jinlong opened the hatch of the orbital module of Shenzhou-15 spaceship.
Mm-hmm. So
is
this like your expectation that how the two crews would meet? Is this like one by one? It is not like they would come, and meet all together like the two crews.
As we already discussed, we have a crew transfer channel between the two vehicles, and it's a little bit narrow. As I mentioned, the inner diameter of this crew transportation tunnel is about 0.85 meters. Mm-hmm. So only one person can go one by one.
Okay.
So that's the reason why first the commander meet each other.
So the two commanders have met now, and the next two crew members will come in pretty soon.
Exactly.
And what will happen next?
And I think next maybe the other two members, Mr. Deng Qingming and Mr. Zhang Lu, will enter the station one by one.
And after that, I've heard that the Shenzhou-15 crew have already brought some presents from Earth, as I said just now. And what are you expecting?
Well, you know that it depends on what they like, and usually, you know that on the International Space Station, usually the fresh food is very favorite choices for them.
Yes, probably some fresh fruit, maybe some background information about Shenzhou-15 crew. And the Shenzhou-15 manned space station is the last flight bound for China's space station this year, and the final task during the construction stage of the station. And the crew includes Fei Junlong, who is the commander of this mission of Shenzhou-15. And of course, after that, Deng Qingming and Zhang Lu will follow, and someone who is the next one going in.
Exactly.
The next one going
so
in?
On the left of the screen, you can see is a video from the camera mounted in the Wentian module. You may notice the space bicycle.
I think that is Deng Qingming, right? At this
Yes,
point, we can see
also
from the live footage.
another warm hug.
Another warm hug. They're saying that is some big exclamation. It's great to see you.
Exactly. So maybe in the future we will form this tradition.
They have already met officially at this point.
Yes.
So Deng Qingming has been waiting for about 25 years, 24 years, over 2 decades, and finally he has made his dream come true at this point. So what will happen next? So Professor John, you are still with us online on Skype at this point. So Professor John, what will happen next? I mean, when it comes to the rotation, they will spend about a week's time on the China's Tiangong space station. What will happen next? What do they need to do?
Right. So for the next 5 days during this handover period, the last crew, the Shenzhou-14 crew, will still be in charge in that sense, and then they would sort of tell the new crew what has been changed. You know, they've done the major structural construction work for the space station, but the interior it's like building a house. Now it's down to the final sort of soft touches, the interior decorations, and that sort of thing. As you can imagine, it's a pretty big space station for 3 people to look after. There are a lot of life support systems, everything, and then a lot of experiments. There's going to be 24 racks inside, nearly 50 external points. So some of the experiments are already up there. So they've been doing those. Right. They need to tell the new crew, you know, what they have done, what things they have changed. But experiments, being experiments, they're unpredictable. So that they have to change things on the go, and they have to tell the new crew what has changed, what knobs they have changed differently. And that really has to be done face to face. So the next 5-day period, they will be doing that sort of very detailed briefing.
Yeah, there will be plenty of experiments that they're going to do in microgravity. So it is such a party over here. We can see from the live footage of there, and we are looking at the meeting of the 2 crews, Shenzhou-14 and the Shenzhou-15, and they are the Shenzhou-14 crew members, including Chen Dong, Liu Yang, and Cai Shizhe. And the Shenzhou-15 crew manned space mission will include Fei Junlong, Deng Qingming, and Zhang Lu. They are having a big party over there. What are they doing at this point? I think they have, that is a walkie-talkie. They are talking to Beijing at this point, are they?
Quite right. And you know that just from the social media today, I read that at this right moment, China has the largest number of astronauts in outer space. You know, there do have 7 astronauts on board the International Space Station, but you know that they come from different countries. So only China have 6 astronauts in outer space now.
I think they are talking to Beijing at this point, right? And they have, I think he is just saying that we have seen something and we are learning from you, something like that. So
yes, they just say greeting to each other, and you know that this is a video getting from the camera mounted in the Wentian module.
So they are in Wentian module at this point.
You may notice the space bicycle. Originally, this space bicycle is located in the Tianhe 1 core module. But when the Wentian module is docked to the station, it was moved to this Wentian module.
It looks like a big party over there, and the lady who is talking at this point is Liu Yang, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Liu Yang is the first female astronaut in space in 2012 on the Shenzhou-9 mission. So they are taking the walkie-talkie one by one, and they have been talking to Beijing. At this point, they are trying to tell Beijing that everything is okay at this
Everything
point.
is okay. And you may notice that just before the launch of Shenzhou-15 manned spaceship yesterday, the Shenzhou-14 crew did a very important job. It is to change the station from the status of 3 crew to 6 crew. The change mainly located in the what we call the regenerative environmental control and life support system.
I think they're going to take a family photo at this point, but first they have to anchor themselves to stabilize themselves right in space.
It's easy for Mr. Fei Jinlong, but a little bit difficult for Mr. Deng Qinglin and Mr. Zhang Lu because they have never been to outer space before.
But they have been going through a lot of training, so they should be used to the environment, I think. So they are taking a selfie. 1, 2, 3. So they are saying that China's Tiangong space station, right? And that can meet your expectation all the time.
Yes, this is really a historical moment for
Yeah.
all Chinese people.
Big thumbs up. Yeah, that is definitely a historic moment. Now let's talk about the mission or the task they have. After that, they're going to stay together for about a week time, right? For the rotation and a lot of preparation. And of course, for the Shenzhou-15 crew, they're going to stay in space for 6 months. And the main objectives of the mission include verifying the space station's abilities to support crew rotation and achieving the first in-orbit crew shift with the Shenzhou-14 members, right?
Yes.
And according to the plan, Professor Yang, the Shenzhou-15 spacecraft will conduct a fast autonomous rendezvous and docking maneuver with the assembly in its front port, and that's from a combo of 3 spaceships, right? So let's come back to the studio at this point, Professor Yang. So we know that, as I said just now, the Shenzhou-15 crew will carry out the verification of long-term residence on China's space station in 3 module configurations. So what are some of the things to look at in this verification?
You know that both our Shenzhou-13 crew and our Shenzhou-14 crew stayed in the station for 6 months. But it's slightly different from comparing with the Shenzhou-15 crew. You know that the Shenzhou-15 crew will stay in the station for 6 months, and they always have 3 modules. You know that as I mentioned, just before the arrival of the Shenzhou-15 crew, the Shenzhou-14 crew switched the status from 3 crew to 6 crew. You know that every day we produce many carbon dioxide. We need a lot of oxygen, and also we need to drink water. So you see that our regenerative life support system produces the oxygen from water using electricity, and also the carbon dioxide must be collected and using the hydrogen produced by the water to get other water from this carbon dioxide. You see, for this procedure, the amount of oxygen, the amount of carbon dioxide, the 3 crew member and the 6 crew member, obviously it will be different. And that's the reason why we need the Wentian module. You know that we have this kind of environmental control and the life support system in the Tianhe 1 core module. But we have another set of an independent one in the Wentian module. And you know that's the design of our station. The basic requirement is to support the long-term residence for 3 crew members, but
for 3 crew members, that will
for
be
long-term.
How many people?
3 crew.
3 crews. I mean, how many people? Like 9?
No. 3 crew member. 3 person.
3 people.
Yeah, 3 people. But for 6 crew members for a short period. You know that to operate the so complex station for so long period, for more than 10 years, the more complex it is, the more possible to have some malfunction in a certain point. So it is very critical for us to have a backup system. That is the reason why we say that the Wentian module is so important. And for this independent regenerative environmental control life support system. And you can see from this screen that they are still, on the left of screen is some of the members are still in the Wentian module. And you know that they will not only deliver or hand over their daily tasks, but also the old crew will tell the new crew the newest status of the whole station. For instance, for the environmental control, we need to confirm the status of the oxygen producing, the collection of carbon dioxide, the collection of the water vapors, the processing of the urine with what we call the vapor compression distillation device, or VCD, and also the water recovery system. So all these systems must working in proper order, and the very complicated status must be, the new crew must be aware of these kind of status. Moreover, you see that the whole station is integrated together, not only simply connect the three modules together. So we combine the thermal control system together, we combine the guidance, navigation, and the control system together. We combine the attitude control together, and also as well as the telemetry, telecontrol, and the communication system, and the other data handling system. So all these are a great amount of works need to be done, and cannot only be finished by the Shenzhou-14 crew. So that is why we call that we will complete the construction of the station during the Shenzhou-15 mission. And all these will be done by the Shenzhou-15 crew.
So basically, first they need to create this ecosystem, right? So it is easier said than done. Everything that we take for granted on Earth could be a different story in space, right? Now, Professor Zhang, let's come to you at this point. You're talking about 40 experiments. There would be 40 experiments. What could they be? What are you expecting?
So they haven't announced the specific list for these 40 experiments that the Shenzhou-15 crew will be doing. But if you look at the equipment already up there, I suspect some of them will be continued. For example, there is one sort of apparatus for doing zero drag experiment, which means you have a container in which you have a test mass that is really free floating. So the space station is not actually free falling in the strict sense, because it's still sort of in the atmosphere, so there is the air resistivity, and then you also have thrust, everything going on. So the station is actually being accelerated all the time. But you can have a container inside of it that's truly free falling, and that allows you to do things like testing general relativity. That's sort of very exciting sort of fundamental physics experiments. There are also sort of materials experiments where you use a laser to heat up a blob of metal, for example, because it's just floating in there. It doesn't need contact with any sort of support, so it's not contaminated. So that will give you very pure, sort of genuine data regarding the metal itself, which allows you to do a lot of new engineering on Earth. So that sort of experiments would, I suspect them would continue on for quite some time.
So will they do any experiments that could be contributing to the health of human beings in space?
So yes, there are a lot of biological experiments going on. So the Wentian model itself is actually built specifically for biological stuff. The Wentian model is more for physical experiments. Some of the things that I can mention is that if you look at the this hasn't happened yet, but if you look at the international collaborations through the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs, there is a experiment being awarded time on this Chinese space station. That's cancer research. So if you move cancer cells up into a microgravity environment bombarded with cosmic rays, cancer cells grow quite differently. And by understanding the changes, so you can get a better idea of how, why, and how the cancer cells actually grow, and if you understand that, then that's the first step towards stopping them growing, right? So that's that might lead to a cure for cancer. You never know. So yeah, there are a lot of things going on that in the space that could benefit mankind very immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for your insight. And for more details, now let's go live to our reporter Swing-Ye in Beijing. So Swing-Ye, walk us through what's happened so far and what we can expect next. I know that you are a veteran reporter for space exploration.
Hey there, Jianhua. Good morning. I think we were watching the same things. The 6 taikonauts from 2 Shenzhou crews have just got together for the very first time in China's space station and started the first ever crew rotation for the space station. That meeting just now, as you and I both watched, led Mark heartfelt, and I guess has already become that dosage of morning boost people across China are waking up to. Now, this rotation between Shenzhou crews will continue to give us historic moments in China's space development, as Shenzhou-15's arrival also shows how China's space station is getting into a 3-module, 3-ship T-shaped configuration for the first time. That's a shape or form that's the biggest, most complicated we've seen in the entire build-up of the space station, and certainly the most capable and the heaviest too. It is around 100 tons. And in the next few days, we will be seeing Shenzhou-14 and 15 in handover for work, with all 6 probably in different parts of the 3-module station on different tasks. And also something very likely to happen, they're going to share a table for meals together, as the table in Tianhe Core module could expand and hold 6 people together, but it has never done so until now. And every day they're staying together. For Shenzhou-14's commander Chen Dong, he's the longest staying taikonauts in space. Now he will be prolonging that record, but also likely within a week, the Shenzhou-14 crew would have their mission accomplished and head home, and they would have started preparing now. So we only have so long in a 6-person get-together, but still we might as well get used to it, because we will be seeing it twice every year from now. Jianhua.
Yeah, thank you very much. That is our reporter Swing-Ye in Beijing. And Professor Yang, let's come back to the discussion. And how about the Shenzhou-14 crew? And it is called the busiest one. Why is that?
You know that during the Shenzhou-14 crew's mission, there are many visiting spacecraft. For instance, we have the visit of the Wentian module, the Mengtian module, the Tianzhou-5 cargo spacecraft, and also this time the Shenzhou-15 spacecraft. You see that during this process, there are many transformations of or the changing of the configuration of the station. You cannot simply recognize only as a change of the connections of the spacecraft. We need to do a lot of work. For instance, if the Shenzhou spaceship, as we've already discussed before, the Shenzhou-14 is docked to the node at the bottom docking port, while the Shenzhou-15 docked to the front docking port. So you see, a different port is not means that they are in different position, but we will also need to consider about the thermal control and the shadow of the which will influence the solar panels. So all these technical details we must consider about. It is not easy. Moreover, you see that we always say the Shenzhou-14 crew will not only witnessing the construction of our our Tiangong space station, but they will also ensure the success of this construction. You see that by the visiting of the Wentian and the Mengtian module, usually we adopt the autonomous docking as a major mode. But you see, for any system, there may possible to have some malfunction. So the manual docking will use that. We will use that as a backup mode. So even if already in orbit, the Shenzhou-14 crew still conducting many in-orbit training for the manual docking. So this is very important. If anything wrong happens to the automatic docking system, the Shenzhou-14 crew will switch the docking system to the manual one and use the control panels inside the Tianhe-1 core module and complete the docking procedure. This kind of examples happened before in other countries. So it is really important for us to have both the automatic docking mode and the manual docking mode as backup to each other. Moreover, you see that the transportation from the front docking port to the side berthing port of the Wentian and Mengtian module is also a very dangerous, risky step for the construction.
Why is it dangerous?
You know that the mainly depends on the what we call the position transfer mechanism. You can recognize that as a very small robotic arm. The mass of this small arm is only about 100 kilograms. But you see that this small arm will change the position of two bodies, both have the mass more than 20 tons. So you can see even a slight disturbance may cause damage to this arm. So this is really different, and we should accomplish this very carefully. And if this anything wrong happened, you may also notice that we have never tested this before in orbit. So it is the first time we use that, but we must ensure the safety and the success. And just beside this robotic arm, the small mechanism, we also have a backup measure to use the big arm with a length of 10 meters to act as a backup measure. If anything wrong happened to the transposition mechanism, we will use the robotic arm to grasp the Wentian or Mengtian module and then transfer to the side berthing port. So in this case, the Shenzhou-14 crew will also monitor the whole procedure and ensure the safety.
And that is one of the highlights of the Shenzhou-14 crew, right?
Quite right.
Yeah,
so that is why it is the most difficult, the busiest one.
Yeah, definitely. And with the launch of the Shenzhou-15 mission, China's Tiangong space station will have 3 main modules alongside 3 spaceships. CGTN's Wu Lei gives us an immersive tour within China's space station, exploring some of its unique characteristics. Take a listen.
Tens of thousands of satellites and spacecraft are now orbiting some 400 kilometers above Earth's surface. Among them is a large manned spacecraft that might catch your eye. It's the Tiangong, China's space station. The Tiangong orbits the Earth at a speed about 7.8 kilometers per second. It takes about 90 minutes to complete one full orbit. Taikonauts can even see 16 sunrises a day from the station. This brand new China National Space Laboratory mainly consists of the Tianhe core module, Wentian and Mengtian lab modules, which together form the iconic T-shaped structure. Together with the Shenzhou manned spacecraft and Tianzhou cargo ship, the whole space station weighs almost 100 tons. So how was this state-of-the-art space station put together? Let's check it out. Starting with the launch of the Tianhe core module in April 2021, China has planned 11 missions to complete the construction of the space station, including 3 major modules, 4 Shenzhou spacecrafts, and 4 Tianzhou cargo ships. So at this site, and having floated through space for so long, how is the Tiangong maintaining power? The answer to that comes down to these 2 pairs of flexible solar arrays, which generate 80% of the entire space station's electricity. They have special hull-driving devices, wrist-like bearing units, to help rotate these 2 solar arrays 360 degrees to face the sunlight in unblocked positions. Each pair has a total length of around 55 meters. Space engineers say these 4 big solar wings generate nearly 1,000 kilowatt-hours of electricity per day, which is equivalent to the electricity consumption of an ordinary family for nearly half a year. By the way, the thing crawling outside the Tiangong space station right now is a robotic arm. It has 7 adjustable levels, just as flexible as a human's arm. Now, taikonauts can stand on the robotic arm and move around quickly. This enables them to be a lot more efficient during the installation work or maintenance tasks. Alright, let's take a look inside the space station now. Coming in, you can see how bright and spacious this place is. It's a large space of 110 cubic meters with so many rooms, so don't get lost. This is a Tianhe core module, the main living space for astronauts. There are 3 different sleeping areas where you can lie down and sleep. Actually, there are another 3 sleeping areas in Wentian Lab module, which will support up to 6 taikonauts on board. There are over 120 kinds of food here, so taikonauts will have a different menu every day. Alright, dinner is over, time for exercise. We have a running machine or a bicycle, the choice is yours. Scientists developed a special recycling system to support life in space. The system can collect moisture, volatilized water, and carbon dioxide released by the taikonauts. Even the urine is processed. All of that is done through subsystems such as electrolytic oxygen production, drinking water collection and treatment, urine treatment, and carbon dioxide and harmful gas removal. Can you imagine? Within just a year, the system has recycled over 2,600 kilograms of water. That's a sufficient amount of water for a person to drink over a span of 2 years. Now we can't forget our daily necessities, the internet. On China Space Station, taikonauts can now use a mobile app to control the lights. Just like this. And inquire about the storage and supply of the materials. And if you miss your family or friends back on Earth, you can make phone calls, chat through video calls, send and receive emails. Now let's take a closer look at the lab modules. The Wentian Lab is mainly for the scientific research of life in space, including the growth and development of different types of plants, animals, and microorganisms. For example, here is a key experimental cabinet called Universal Biological Cultivation Module, where the rice and Arabidopsis are planted. In fact, Chinese taikonauts and students on the ground carried out an experiment in which the same seed was planted. The seeds grow under different gravity conditions, enabling them to study the mechanisms of growth. The Mengtian is mainly for the scientific research of microgravity. In addition to the 13 cabinets inside Mengtian, there are also 37 payload positions outside the cabin. There is a special piece of equipment in the Mengtian Lab module for releasing micro spacecraft. With the help of astronauts, the payload transfer tool, and robotic arm, the equipment will eject small satellites weighing about 100 kilograms into orbit, just like a slingshot. So now you've seen everything from the outside to the inside. 9 international experimental projects selected from 17 countries and regions will be sent to the Tiangong later. In the future, overseas friends, astronauts, and scientists are all welcome to work and live in China's space station. The starry sky is vast and bright. Chinese and foreign scientists will join together to explore more possibilities of the vast universe on the big platform known as the Tiangong.
Well, that is some detailed introduction to the China's Tiangong space station. So let's come back to our discussion. And we have been talking about the structure of China's Tiangong space station, that is T-shaped structure. So why is it important to make it a T-shape? It is a little bit different from the International Space Station. Let's go to you first, Mr. Zhang.
Right. So the reason is that for docking is really much easier. If the incoming spacecraft hit the existing station in a way that the line of contact passes through the center of gravity of the station, that gives it zero sort of torque. It doesn't try to spin up the station. So so the station, so in the future, most of the docking will be done by cargo ships and then human crews. The human crews will dock from the front mostly, and then the cargo will go from the back. And then, so the LET module to make way to leave these two ports open, it's better to be on the side. So the T shape is by that design. And then of course, because you have two crews, sometimes the crew has to come from below, from the nadir port. But overall, mostly of the docking will be through the center of gravity. So that'll make things so much easier through this design of T shape.
Yeah, thank you very much for insight. And how about Professor Yang? So how about that? Do you think that is because the reason why we make it a T-shaped configuration is because it can save energy? It's a bit very different from the International Space Station, as I said just now.
Well, you know that the China Space Station adopted a modular design. The modular design is similar to the Mir space station, which belongs to the third generation among all the space stations of human being. But you know that the ISS, or the International Space Station, belongs to the fourth generation. It is because it has a very huge truss structure with a total length of more than 108 meters. It is because of they have this truss and the four parallel solar wings will not be blocked by the fuselage of the pressurized modules. So that is the reason why the International Space Station has a very high efficiency on power supply. You know that the China Space Station don't have this kind of big truss, but we do have, that the fuselage of the Wentian and Mengtian module can have the same effect of the truss. And also you may notice that the two pair of very huge solar wings were located at the tail of Wentian and Mengtian module. So it will also not be blocked by the fuselage of other bodies. So our space station, the solar panels also have the highest efficiency. Moreover, you see that both the International Space Station and our Tiangong Space Station adopted a two-dimensional startup, or the rotational mechanism for the solar wings. So with this design, we can facing the sun with the most ideal direction. So that's the reason, although we adopted a modular design like the Mir space station, but the performance of our Tiangong space station belongs to the fourth generation, as good as the International Space Station. You know that until now, China is only a developing country, so we only have a limited budget on space programs. So at this moment, our Tiangong Space Station, although it has already formed the T-shape, and as you mentioned, we have 6 spacecraft connected together, but we are even smaller than the Mir space station. But our performance and also the number of racks dedicated for scientific research is as good as the International Space Station. So we are a developing country, so the scale is limited, but the performance is good enough.
So based on both of your theories, so it's very much like, because of this T-shaped structure, it can either save energy or it is easier for docking and rendezvous, right? And now let's go to Professor Jiang one more time. And do you think that China is planning to expand the structure of China's Tiangong space station by giving it more modules in future?
So one module is almost certainly going up. It's the Chinese Space Station Telescope, CIST. So that would go up towards 2024 kind of timeline. It's not going to be attached to the station all the time. Originally, it should be sitting where Mengtian is sitting right now, but the vibration of the station is just too much for a telescope, and then also it is difficult to spin the whole thing around to point the telescope towards the right direction. The station may block some of the directions as well. So the telescope becomes a free-flying module, but it is sharing the same orbit as the entire space station, and periodically it can dock and sort of get replenished, get repaired, get upgraded, that sort of thing. So it is actually a part of the space station. That would substantially increase its capabilities. And in the further future, there's the possibility, in my opinion, quite substantial possibility that there might be a phase 2 to the station, because for all the 3 modules currently forming the T-shape, they all have a cousin, sort of a replica on Earth, sort of backup thing that if anything goes wrong, they can be launched instead. And everything, since everything's working perfectly, those three are just sitting there on Earth, not doing much. So it is quite possible, depending on how much science we can get out of it. People may decide to launch those three and form a twice as large space station. That'll be 180 tons.
Mm-hmm. So, Professor Yang, how about international cooperation? Now we only have Chinese taikonauts or astronauts, and how about in future?
What you and Professor Zhang has mentioned will be very important for the future high-level cooperation. You know that today we have the T-shape composed of the three modules, the Tianhe-1 core module, Wentian and the Mengtian module. And the Tianhe-1 core module have 3 docking ports and 2 berthing ports. The 2 berthing ports is to connect the Wentian and the Mengtian. But in the future, the space station is expandable. And in the future, probably we will have a second core module. With this second core module, we will have more docking ports and berthing ports. So it is possible in the future with this second core module, it will connect to the front docking port of Tianhe-1, and then at the other end of this secondary core module, we will have another additional 2 berthing ports and also other docking ports. So it is possible to have other additional laboratory modules connected to this secondary core module. But you know that the other modules, it is from the view of technology, it is possible that another laboratory module made by another country and then connected to our station as a permanent part. So this will be the highest level of international cooperation, and we hope that can be achieved. But just beneath this level, also other possibilities is to the visit of the spacecraft from other countries, either resupply spacecraft or manned spacecraft. So it is also possible, as we already discussed today, that the docking mechanism we adopted is called APAS, or the Endogenous Peripheral Attach System. You know that today on the International Space Station, on the Node 2, the Harmony module, there are also these kind of docking mechanisms, and also that's the HTV, the Dragon spacecraft, and also the other cargo spacecraft like the Cygnus, it also use this kind of APAS. So it is quite possible in the future that only a slight change is needed for the spacecraft from other countries, and then they can dock with our China space station. But of course, we also need them to mount our microwave radar, LiDAR, and other devices to measure the relative position and also the relative angle of each other. So that's from
definitely.
The technology is possible.
Yeah, we are looking forward to more international cooperation on China's Tiangong space station. And thank you very much for your insights. So that is Professor Yang Yuguang and Professor Zhang Fan. Thank you so much for today. And that is for your special coverage today. And here is a quick reminder of what's happened so far. China's Shenzhou-15 manned space mission was successfully launched on Tuesday night. After the spaceship docked with the Tianhe core module, the crew met with their fellow astronaut colleagues aboard the Shenzhou-14 spacecraft. Now, we leave you with a recap of these exciting moments. I'm Li Jianhua in Beijing. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
3、2、1，点火！1、2、中国。